Good morning, brothers and sisters. It gives me great pleasure to be with you on this second day of the 97th Easter Conference. We are here to gather, to remember and commemorate Krishna ji apart from observing the Easter. The speakers, we have two speakers for the forenoon session. They are Brother KVL Kantha Rao, and the second speaker is Brother Dr. M.A. Raveendran. Brother Kantha Rao hails from Hyderabad. He is a professional educationist, having had over 35 years in the teaching line. He served as a principal of campus school in the University of Hyderabad before retiring. The Japanese say that if you have put in 10,000 hours of work in any field, you will become an expert. Needless to say, Brother Kantha Rao has received Best Teacher Award many times. He has joined the Theosophical Society at Hyderabad in 1978. He was the secretary of Hyderabad Theosophical Society. He served as a vice president of the Hyderabad Theosophical Society and served as a secretary of Rayalaseema Theosophical Federation for 9 years. He has contributed several articles on theosophy to Divya Jnana Deepika, the Journal of Rayalaseema and Telugu Federations, and contributed to the Indian Theosophists as well. Brother Rao has conducted conferences, seminars, study camps at various places at Bavali, workers training camp at Bellary and Amarapuram. He has also performed and conducted group yoga pranayama sessions at Secunderabad, Bellary and Adyar. He has delivered talks in theosophy, in English, and Mumbai and Varanasi on theosophical work. He has extended help to 4 to 5 PhD scholars in their research work. One scholar out of them was awarded the PhD from Hyderabad Central University on the subject about spreading theosophy in South India. Presently, Brother Kantha Rao keeps himself busy by conducting weekly online study sessions on divine plan and the first principles of theosophy. Brother K.V. Rao would now speak to us about theosophy versus J.K.'s teachings. Over to Brother KVL Kantha Rao Garu.
Thank you. Am I audible to you? I am so happy to meet so many brothers and sisters of our Theosophical Society and others too, at least on virtual platform during this global pandemic period, as we could not meet at area. For making these virtual meetings possible during Easter conference, I express my sincere thanks and gratitude to the Indian section in general, and more particularly to Brother Pradeep Gohil, President, and Brother Pradeep Kumar Mahapatra, Conference Officer, and Sri Priya. Thank you once again. The theme of this 97th Easter Conference is Theosophy and Krishnamoorty. My presentation this morning about my talk on Theosophy versus JK's teachings, we'll focus our attention on three aspects. One, our general and broad understanding of what Theosophy means and its purpose. Second, briefly, what are the teachings of JK to the world? And third, are these two complementary or contradictory or both? And in any case, what my role should be? Now coming to first the point of Theosophy. Theosophy is divine wisdom, ancient wisdom, Brahma Vidya. Theosophy is a way of life, it is not a philosophy. Theosophy recognizes oneness of life in all forms of nature, not only mineral, plant, animal, human, superhuman, but also atomic, subatomic, etheric, and so on. This is a source of knowledge and inspiration about everything, visible and invisible. It narrates a beautiful, realistic story about the long journey that a human being had to undertake through evolution systematically, involving several stages of manifestation, which has come from unmanifestation and again coming back. Theosophy strongly believes and advocates that the man functions as a saptaparni, the seven planes of consciousness. It also recognizes the cosmic builders, the great trinity, the first, second, and third logos, with their energy outpourings, just as Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara Tattvas in Hinduism, and the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit in Christianity, and perhaps maybe with many other names in many other religions. Now that man is a sentient being, Theosophy impels upon him the sacred duty of practicing altruistic nature towards all around him. That was the reason to make it public. The declared objects of the Theosophical Society, namely universal brotherhood of humanity without any distinction, comparative study of science, religion, and philosophy, and lastly, unexplained laws of nature and latent powers in man. Perhaps that is why one of the divine masters had said that the Theosophical Society was chosen as the cornerstone of future religions of humanity. Therefore, the motto of this society, "There is no religion higher than truth," is an outward expression of Theosophy having profound meaning. The freedom of thought and the freedom of society are therefore the real, unlimited properties of Theosophy and the Theosophical Society. These properties should be protected by all means at any cost. All the tools and techniques in the form of abundant literature about Theosophy are aimed at achieving the declared objects. And through these objects, it is mainly intended to bring an awareness in the world to seek and achieve freedom from bondage of all sorts, that is physical, psychological, and spiritual, and that is finally to attain nirvana or salvation and renunciation or mukti or moksha in many other terms. The truths given to us through this literature by the revered masters of the wisdom in the form of their letters or from HBB downwards, it has been made abundantly clear that man is the maker of his own destiny and no teacher or guru can spiritually lift him up. And what all required is only self-effort truth dawns on us. It does not come burglar-like through barred windows and iron-sheathed doors, as one of the masters have said. The main inner purpose of the Theosophical Society is to strive for perfection of humanity, but not for self-glorification of any individual, and that every human being to reach the level of adept sooner or later. As an organization, the Theosophical Society functions only as a signpost leading to the path, but certainly it is not a substitute for individuals' endeavors to tread any path of his choice. No one can shower boons on anyone else. Now let us consider some of the JK's teachings in relation to theosophy. Jiddu Krishnamoorty, affectionately called as Krishnaji by us, is addressed in common parlance as JK. He addressed many people in many parts of the world, students, parents, scientists, religious leaders, and many individuals and groups from many walks of life. He talked on various aspects of life. Let us consider some of his many frequent and familiar phrases and statements he made during his talks. These phrases and statements are like this: conditioning, freedom from the known, observer, observed, and the observation. The network of thought, experience, memory, and thought. The word is not the thing. You are the word. Individual consciousness and universal consciousness. Fragmentation and totality. Life is a relationship. Change immediately now. Meditation. Cause becomes effect and effect becomes cause. Die every moment. Spirit of inquiry. Truly religious person. Individual and social insecurity. Truth is a pathless man and choiceless awareness, and there are so many. Now let us consider the way he describes nature. Krishnaji is a lover of nature. If one observes the series of his thoughts that he gave throughout his life, one cannot fail to feel his oneness with the nature. His observation and description of a falling leaf, the flowing breeze from a tree, the song of a bird, stillness of the sky, the movement of a villager fetching a pot of water, the animals grazing in the greeneries, and so on. These fill our mind with a feeling of peace and mystical experience. Gradually, the listeners will be completely under his magic spell and made ready to be immersed in his forthcoming message. All this shows how deeply and inherently he is one with the nature, and in fact, he is the nature. Then, as a world teacher, when he was projected as a future world teacher, his inner spirit prompted him to seek complete freedom from all identifications and labels. While he was the head of the organization Order of the Star, it was dissolved by him as he strongly believed that truth is a pathless land, and that no organization can lead anyone to realize truth. And so, one has to find one's own way of approach. I hope our next speaker, Brother Dr. M. A. Raveendran, will throw more light on this. It is quite obvious that ideas will be overlapping by various speakers in such conferences. So, this kind of a view, that is truth is pathless land and so on, is certainly complementary to what was said earlier, that is individuals' self-effort. J.K.'s statement implied that he left the Theosophical Society but lived as a true Theosophist all his life. But the world at large then recognized him as the real world teacher. His teachings gained importance and momentum from then onwards. Now about organization. He responded to an inquirer that what he meant organization was not like a postal department or any other similar service organizations which are always necessary, but the so-called spiritual organizations that would preach and promise how to attain salvation. On the surface of it, this appears to be contradictory to the very existence of the Theosophical Society as an organization. But what J.K. meant was, an organization like a postal department is naturally necessary for day-to-day functioning, but not for a path to be laid for realizing truth. Obviously, J.K.'s statement serves as a strong dose of medicine against positions and possessions for a bright future of this society. If this is viewed objectively, then contradictory disappears and complementary will appear in my view. However, J.K. explained further that his decision was neither due to his personal whim nor was it motivated by any principle. He just renounced it, not because of any principle, an idea or a conclusion. He just gave it up, not for something greater or for some person, or otherwise it would not be called giving up at all. Now relating to thought. See, whatever may be the belief for our existence, we do exist in this world in the present circumstances, whether we like it or not. J.K. says that very existence brings us experience, good or bad, which is stored as memory. Perhaps bad memories are stored stronger. So out of this memory, thought is generated. Then the network of thought will not allow us to keep quiet, leads us in leaps and bounds to even remotest past memories, which are mostly unpleasant. Then reaction in the form of anger, ill will, and many other negative feelings cloud above us. And quite often, the net result is anxiety, depression, and health issues, and so many other things. Now let us see something about conditioning. Let us now see how this memory puts us in conditioning. J.K. takes up a very famous example. Look at the tree. It is funny that the audience immediately will be looking at a nearby tree. J.K. does not mean this. There are various ways of looking at the tree. If a botanist looks at it, he would identify it with his past memory relating to its name, botanical classification, its flowers and fruits with scientific names and so on. If a woodcutter looks at it, perhaps he would calculate how much wood benefits him and so on. But if a lover of nature looks at it, he loves it. So not only all of this, but most of us are conditioned with our memory. JK says the word is not the thing. But if the word a tree is seen or heard, our conditioning through memory alerts us to be label it and drifts us to endless thoughts. Thus, our lives are under such conditioning almost unless we make a strong effort for freedom from this conditioning, including the freedom from the known. The Theosophical Society constantly reminds us of its freedom of thought and freedom of the society. These ideas are compatible and hence complementary. Now about observation. JK's next famous statement is about the relationship between the observer, observed, and the observation. He stated very categorically that there is no observation as long as the observer is aware of this process. Complete observation takes place only when there is no observer. Theosophy, while explaining the laws of karma and incarnation, strongly admits the age-old belief of Sanatana Dharma that our lower bodies are only the shadows of our real Atma, and that these vehicles or vestures or upadhis are transitory. It is only when we realize that these bodies are functionally operative to open the doors of intuition, then only true self-observation is possible. So, the observer means the me should be totally dissolved, which means I am not, na iti neti. So when the observer withdraws from the process totally, but be a witness without taking part in the process, then total observation is possible. Then one can understand man, know thyself. So what Theosophy says and JK says are not different but complementary. Now views on religion and philosophy. There are so many religions propounding various philosophies and established various schools of thought. JK never cared to declare that none of these philosophies could uplift the human being to understand truth in the right perspective, nor could alleviate the human sufferings at the physical and psychological levels. If someone proudly identifies himself belonging to a particular religion, then JK called him arrogant and violent, since he is taking shelter under the name of his religion as a tool to face social insecurity. A truly religious person would never harm others, and on the other hand, practices brotherhood by extending his helping hand to make them understand their own religion much better, instead of narrowing down their ideologies. No religion teaches violence. The traditions, customs, and ceremonies of various religions may vary, but their fundamental essence is the same. That is, to live and let live. If the essence is the same, the source of essence also should be the same. The first object of the Theosophical Society, namely universal brotherhood without any distinction whatsoever, is a testimony to the teachings of both Theosophy and JK, which are complementary. However, perpetrators of violence belonging to any religion may not recognize the essence, since their attention is focused on outward forms. Now let us see what he says something about understanding life and relationship. JK always defined life as a relationship with the rest of the world and not in isolation. Every individual seems to be under constant influence of the world he lives in. The evolution that had brought this world thus far exercises enormous pressure on the individuals and groups, small and large, in various forms. Even before attaining adulthood, if the world puts its heavy hands on you, you are bound to be conditioned, prejudiced, pre-opinionated. So, you are not something different from the world, and you are the world. So, all these variety of forms make us look at the society in general as a fragmented body, leaving not even an iota of totality or wholesomeness of a single humanity. Mostly, the people find it a matter of pleasure in dividing instead of uniting. On the other hand, if the combination of this life relationship is properly understood with respect to the process of evolution, one can realize that the source is absolute unified consciousness, and the so-called feelings of insecurity and world pressure will appear to be only relative and at superficial level. This is one of the doctrines of Theosophy through which the theory of evolution is explained. So the teachings of both Theosophy and JK are in consonance with each other. Now let us see what JK says about meditation. JK, while speaking on meditation, asserted that the action of cause becoming effect and effect becoming cause is an everlasting chain that binds the meditator. He categorically denied the normal way of meditating, that is, focusing or concentrating on a fixed point of thought, ideology, philosophy, etc., at a fixed time of the day. Because during the meditation, when the mind drifts him away here and there, he will bring it back to the point. And he repeats this game for about 40 years or so. Then ultimately he feels that he achieved nothing. This is because the cause for meditating is to achieve an effect, which implies a desire for the meditator that becomes cause again. So JK asks us whether it is possible to meditate without any expectation. Then there will be neither effect nor cause. His message is that the whole life should be meditation and not a fraction of a day spending some time in silence in a particular posture with a selfish desire, including nirvana, which is the greatest desire. Theosophy proclaimed this truth, namely, cause becoming effect and effect becoming cause, operating at both macrocosmic and microcosmic levels. That is, as above, so below. One of the postulates in the HBB secret doctrine. Much before, while recognizing various cycles of nature and accepting two great laws, namely karma and reincarnation. This is attributable to the higher and the lower stages of Manvantara and Pralaya. If HBB's diagram of meditation and JK's views on meditation are closely observed at deeper level, we can find those both are one and the same. Then about awareness. JK says, awareness is awareness. With full consciousness, there is no scope for semi-awareness or part awareness. It is choiceless awareness. No percentage can be fixed to either quantity or quality of it. In JK's words, choiceless awareness of the manner of your approach will bring right relationship with the problem. The problem is self-created. So there must be self-knowledge. You and the problem are one, not two separate processes. You are the problem. I think perhaps Brother K. Dinakaran will elucidate more on this in the next session. And our theosophy says, man is a Saptaparni. If one is aware that he or she is functioning at all these 7 levels of consciousness, right from atmic to physical, then self-realization is certain. Having realized this truth, such an individual does not bother about which religion he belongs to. The motto of the Theosophical Society, there is no religion higher than truth, or Satya Nasti Parodharma, makes every member to live the truth. Hence, JK's statement, choiceless awareness, and the motto of the Theosophical Society convey the same message. Now, with a few remarks of my own, I will conclude. This process of comparing and contrasting the teachings of Theosophy and JK can continue taking many such statements. There are so many. Those can be examined at deeper level. But there are limits for such exercise. Any number of such exercises will lead us to understand the same outcome. We could discuss some of the teachings given by Theosophy and JK. A brief summary of this discussion shows that all through, somehow, I have been trying to impress upon myself and others too, that both the teachings are most complementary and very rarely contradictory. I have heard JK personally many times, so are many of you. I feel very earnestly that it is not so easy to be free from his influence. On one hand, I am continuing as a member of the Theosophical Society, which is an organization that gives a lot of knowledge for self-realization by trying to understand universal truths. On the other hand, something inwardly pricks me that as an admirer of JK, I am unable to be free from this organization to realize absolute truth independent of a path. So I strongly feel that I need both, even if both ideas superficially seem to be contradictory. This has been considered for a long time by me. However, after analyzing and synthesizing all the above facts, happily I have come to an awareness that the truths and teachings given are more important than who gave it, namely an organization like Theosophical Society or an individual like JK or anyone competent. It does not make any difference to me as long as I am led by these universal truths. It all depends upon how one looks at it. As a botanist or a woodcutter or a lover of nature, I respect both. That is Theosophical Society and JK. During many series of lives, JK must have received enough illumination, and therefore, during his later period of his life, he could realize the absolute truth free from any organization. Perhaps in my case, I have a conviction that I have a long journey to travel with an organization like the Theosophical Society, for which, leave alone regrets, I am certainly happy. Thank you all.
Thank you, Brother Rao Garu, for your talk at depth. Truly, there is no disharmony between theosophy and JK's teachings.
Thank
And
you.
if we can bear this at the back of our mind, life would be much more harmonious.
Certainly.
Dear
Thank
brothers
you.
and sisters, you have just listened to a talk on theosophy and JK's teachings by Brother KVL Kantha. There are about 119 participants today. I see there are people from New Zealand, Brother Ganesh Kumar, Professor Hiranandani from USA, and many others. Hearty greetings to one and all on behalf of the Indian section. Our next speaker is Dr. M.A. Raveendran. Dr. M.A. Raveendran is from Thrissur, Kerala. He is a medical practitioner by profession. He obtained his MBBS in 1977 from the Calicut Government Medical College. He obtained MD in General Medicine in 1985 from the Trivandrum Government Medical College. He has been in Kerala Medical Education Service from 1982 to 2015. He has served as a professor of medicine since 1997. Dr. M.A. Raveendran retired as principal of Medical College. It will not be out of place to bring to the notice that about 10 years back, the Indian Medical Council formed a core committee of 5 to 6 members, pulling in doctors from all over India. Dr. Raveendran was one such member who was recruited by the Indian Medical Council to look into the revision of the medical system of syllabus and examination. Dr. Raveendran is one of those few people who does a lot of work from behind the scenes. In 2019, Adyar Library Research Center entered into an MOU with the Sri Shankaracharya Sanskrit University at Kaladi. Dr. Raveendran contributed significantly for this MOU to shape up. To speak a little about Dr. Raveendran's contribution to theosophy, Dr. Raveendran joined the TS in 1982 at Alleppey. He is a member of the Upasika Lodge, Thrissur, and he has been working as the president of the Kerala Theosophical Federation for 4 years. He is interested in yoga, masonry, and theosophy. Dr. Raveendran holds a personal record for having traveled to Adyar over 35 years without fail to attend the Masonic meetings. All this would not have been possible but for his support from his spouse, Mrs. Sheila Raveendran. Mrs. Sheila is a teacher, and the Raveendrans have 2 sons. One is an advocate and the other is a dentist. Dr. Raveendran always leads from the front. A soldier is never off duty. He is a simple man's doctor to whom you can always approach, and his medicines are never expensive. So during the COVID, he was always in the forefront, leading from the front. Dr. Raveendran will speak to us on Truth is a Pathless Land. J. Krishnamoorty spoke in 1929 about truth being a pathless land. Man cannot come to it through any organization, through any philosophical knowledge or psychological technique. So, what are Dr. Raveendran's views? Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, madam. Let's prepare the nice words. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. The famous words, truth is a pathless land, that was expressed by J. Krishnamoorty in his opening talk in 1929 when he dissolved the Star of the East. thereafter, it was written by him in 1980 as the core of the Krishnamoorti's teachings contained in the statement. Now, to understand Krishnamoorti, one of the problem is, one is the language. The terms he used is sometimes confusing to our normal understanding. And we have to clarify that before this going further. For example, truth, that is the first word. He says about the difference between truth and reality in the famous talk with David Bohm, and he maintains that all our mental perceptions, thoughts, suffering, everything is reality, but it is not truth. Truth is something entirely different from reality. Everything the mind conceives is a reality in his sense, but they are not truths. And many times what happens is that these two terms are totally interspace the people and creates so a lot of confusion. So the reality which is not at all conditioned is the element of truth, and he calls use the names freedom, self-knowledge, love. It is a reality without conflict. It's a reality which practically gives man an enormous power and courage in order to face life. That is the way he used the term truth. Now, the next term comes is the path. Here comes your path, my path. And these terms are based on experience. And without self-knowledge, the experience breeds illusion. And it produces leadership, exploitation, respectability, and it brings in hierarchy and power. So when there are hierarchy to exploit you, people are willing to be exploited. And in this way, the word path to be understood. The path means that there is all these things are there. So Krishnamoorti says it is a pathless land. Truth is a pathless land, and there is no choice. So the many past one reality are the invention of an intolerant mind. That is his impression. It implies that a path means truth is not in the present. So this is the way we have to understand the paths. The third term I want to use is ignorance, because Krishnamurti's topic, that's a area of reference, practically comes to very much to the education. Unlike other people with philosophy, his fields are diverse: religious studies, education, psychology, physics, consciousness studies. All these things are there. Let's say, as far as Krishnamurti is concerned. So the term ignorance comes into picture, and in this context, I say it is very much important to know, let's say, what is called the Dunning effect. Basically, in the field, certain fields, people don't know their limitation. That is what happens. That is, unless we know a minimum threshold of knowledge, theory, or experience, what will happen is that we will believe, there's a belief that we know everything and we are competent. That is the fundamental thing. So what happens is that we are likely to go wrong and we will not know that we are going wrong. That is the problem with the Dunning-Kruger effect. The specific thing has been described by all philosophers, let's say, very much earlier. For example, the a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. That is one saying. And Charles Darwin has mentioned that ignorance more frequently begets confidence than does knowledge. So those persons who are having absence of knowledge are unlikely to understand their absence of knowledge and thinks that they are competent enough to investigate certain areas. This is a very important problem in the so-called spiritual field. Krishnamoorty don't like the word spiritual. He always tries to use the term self-knowledge because he has his own definition for spiritual. Now, one of the famous thing about the Dunning-Kruger effect is that it is mentioned by Plato in his classic Apology. It describes a puzzle that his mentor Socrates once had to solve. Socrates' friend Xenophon has to go to the Oracle of Delhi and ask whether there was anyone wiser than Socrates, to which the Oracle had replied that there was no one else. This both surprised and vexed Socrates, who felt that there were many more citizens who knew more than he did. And so he went out on search to find the one wiser person that he could bring to the oracle as a counterexample. He interviewed the politicians, poets, artisans of Athens, and although he found them all knowledgeable and quite skilled, he also found them to be supremely confident in their expertise and unwilling to acknowledge when their intelligence was either faulty or valueless. In this, Socrates discovered what the oracle had been talking about. He alone, among all other citizens, recognized that his knowledge and wisdom was trivial next to that of gods. Limits. And this insight gained him the slightest of advantages in wisdom over others. And this is the person that we are going to talk about, Krishnamoorty. So when we face him, it's a very difficult task. And we have to understand him properly. It's a challenge. And now, at the fag end of his life, he has practically given that particular statements that his legacy he gave to the world at large. He did not want anybody to pose an interpreter of his teachings. He warned his associates on several occasions that they were not to present themselves as spokespersons on his behalf or his successors after his death. And finally, as an introduction, I will say, few days before his death, in the final statement, he declared that nobody among either his associates or general public had understood what happened to him. He added that the supreme intelligence operating his body will be gone and there will not be any further teachings. So we are particularly trying to understand this person of Krishnamoorty with this background. And it is sometimes very difficult and to understand because of the words used. One of the well-known thing about his expression is thought is of time. Whenever we say anything, it immediately goes go to the past, and it goes to the field of memory. And whatever comes out of it is memory. So it is in that way, he says, thought is of memory and it is of past. And the solution to all these problems, he says something that is, can man come out of this particular problem? That is, whether he can be free of all these things. The word spiritual, let's say, is very much misused in the current sense, and I have to mention that also, let's say, before going into these things, because Krishnamoorty says, they say, especially in the talk in the United Nations in 1985, he was asked this question. For that he answers, first of all, I don't understand the word spiritual. Is it emotional, romantic, ideological, or something vague in air, or facing actuality? What is going on now, both in ourselves and in the world? Because you are the world, you are not separate from the world, and we have created this society, and we are that society. And whatever experiences one has, so-called religious and spiritual, one must doubt those very experiences. One must question and be skeptical. So Krishnamurti doesn't accept the so-called statement of the authority which is linked to the experience. And we have to question everything, any experience which is the so-called spiritual. And now, what is implied in all these things? We can quickly go through. Let's say, in the talk with David Bohm, he says, any form of reality is conditions. And that is the reason why reality has nothing to do with truths. Mutual conditioning is called influence. One part of illusion influences another part, and reality cannot be totally independent of man. But truth is all that which is the same, healthy, and whole rational man is the truth. Truth is one, reality is multiple. Truth cannot be conditioned. Reality can be conditioned. And wrong consciousness tries to improve that apparent reality we face. And we think that it is real. It is just like a reflection we see in the mirror. The reflection should not be given so much energy to make it the so-called reality. And that is his advice. That is, don't energize an image, because an image is not truth. Energy of truth is different. It is free of conflict and contradiction. Energy of truth can comprehend the reality, but this reality without contradictions. And he says, what is the process by which you can understand truth? He says, truth is not a matter of, or it is not an object of study. Because when you say an object, the subject also comes in. The subject-object duality. And if you add one more thing, the perception, perceiver, and the perceived, it becomes a triplicity, and that creates a problem. And every knowledge in this world, every expression, every literature, every statement practically belongs to these fields. That is the perception, the perceiver, and the object of perception. And unless you are able to go beyond this triplicity, you are not going to know what is the truths. And he says, meditation is the process by which you can transcend this capacity, and it is the area where there is no contradiction, no confusion. It is actually seeing what it is. And usually meditation is said to be there's a moving from one reality to another, but the real meditation, that is going beyond the triplicity of the receiver, perception, and the person who perceives it, has to be done in actual practice. In this practice, we'll never understand what is truth. And now, rely on experience as a means of discovering what is to be caught in an illusion. Because the real truth is not something to be experienced. So, whenever you say there is an experience, there is an experiencer, and whatever you rely on your experience is actually an illusion. And truth does not depend on presence of idiosyncrasies and fancies. And without self-knowledge, experience creates illusions. And so, we should try to exclude every kind of illusions. Now, ideas and reality. Ideas actually belongs to the term of our memory, or the so-called sleep state as per the consciousness is concerned. Our waking consciousness, practically we see things. In the sleep state, the so-called supna, what we see are ideas. And there is a third state which is described as the deep sleep, where practically the perception perceiver is absent. And the stage beyond these things, that is called Turiya. That's in which can practically see all the other things very clearly. Only those that consciousness can understand something real. Krishnamoorty doesn't use any of these terms. He says only one thing. There is a duality of the perceiver and the object perceived, and you have to go beyond this. And so he uses the term wisdom in the understanding of what is from moment to moment without the accumulation of experience and knowledge. That is a state which is beyond the capacity of the known and the knowledge. And there is a term in Sanskrit used by our philosophers, including Kantha, that is Anubhuti. Anubhuti is the experience without the burden of memory. So his famous, it's a work, Avarosha Anubhuti. It means that it's a perception without the burden of memory. So that has to be understood. And now, there is no path to truth. Whenever we say that there is a path, practically you are traveling in an illusory way. A path implies a goal, and it has got a static end. And if you are searching assurance, certainty, then you are lost. A truth implies that you should not believe in a path, and you should know that the first illusion is that there is a path. And now, there are so many expressions in our traditional literature about this same thing. For example, Buddha, when he says that, what is the problem of humanity? He says there is sorrow. And there is a reason for sorrow, that is the best for life, it is disease. But Krishnamoorty says
Dr. Raveendran, your voice is not coming clear. Can you just take up?
as the way for the relief of suffering. That is the.
Oh,
When
yeah.
Patanjali, he described klesha are the problem, and it is the chitta vritti of the mind is the problem. Kaivalya is the solution, and Ashtanga Yoga is the solution for that. In the same way, the Krishnamurti has also described these things. For example, he has mentioned that there's a whatever be every man is suffering. That is a reality, and ending of suffering is the important thing which is required. And the cause of the suffering is, he says, we live life in fragments, and we have to understand that's the particular problem. And self-knowledge is the beginning of wisdom, and the method is giving attention. When you are giving attention or concentration, we exclude so many things which should be avoided. We should be aware of our day-to-day activities and including your thoughts. And finally, you can practically enter to know the real consciousness, which is truth. And it is a choiceless awareness where there is no conflict and time matters no more. And you have to learn in relationships. And this is the perception without a perceiver. And that is the end for all solution. The same thing has been said by Shankara also. The whole suffering is there because of the illusion. And the cause, he says, is the power of Maya. And self-knowledge, that is understanding what is Turiya, which is beyond the three states, that is the knower, known, and the knowledge. And practically you have to go beyond the waking consciousness. You have to take your waking consciousness to the sleep states and to the deep sleep states in order to understand what is Turiya. In Kerala, that's Srinarayana Guru has popularized this term very commonly, Tribudi Mudiga. Tribudi means the threefold perceptions. It has to be ceased, and only on ceasing of the observer, observed, and the observation, it is the real Anubhuti. And those who have understood these things have described the perception in many ways. For example, Shankara in the initial stage, he has described that thing called Shivoham Shivoham. It means that I am Shiva. That is a subjective aspect has been given more importance. J.K. has mentioned there is a perception without a perceiver. That means the importance is given to the perception part. And in Patanjali Yoga, it is given to the object. If you do concentration, contemplation, and meditation, that is the three terms used as single one, samyamam. If you do samyamam on an object, all the knowledge concerned with the particular object is within you, and you are one with the object. There is no separation between you and the object, and in that way, knowledge can be gained. So, finally, I have to conclude that there are people that say who are realized, but when they come down to express it, the content, the intent, and everything is lost and it is misunderstood. And Egam Sat Vipra Bahada Vadandi. There is only one truth. People say it differently. Krishnamurti has expressed his message in Theosophical Society at a particular context when the authority, especially in the field of spirituality, was to some extent dominating. and he practically, there's a even a waking call to all that don't depend on anybody else, including any organization or your self-knowledge. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Raveendran. We were not able to hear portions of your talk in between, so we would request you to send us a copy of your talk to the administrator.
Yes. Thank you.
That was Dr. Raveendran. He spoke on Truth is a Pathless Land. We come to the conclusion of this forenoon session. We will break now and reassemble at 10:30. In the meanwhile, you are welcome to view a video of JK, the title of which is "The Brain is Quiet When There is Attention." Thank you, one and all.
I do not know if you ever.
Jai Krishna.
Which thought wanders away, you try to confuse. Whereas you it may be wrong, obtuse, that is, So, what has, what, the man that goes, the, and that brain, we have not been able to make, to, when you go to sleep, before going to, the brain, sleep, quietness, I don't, and that, when the, at the moment, when there is a, then that phase, When the mind, and that can be no the mind, that in wisdom makes them
Shripriyaji, you can unmute yourself now.
Thank you all. I thank Brother Pradeep Gohil, our national president, and Brother Narayanan and Brother Mahapatra for giving me this opportunity. And it's a very humbling experience for me to talk to such a elite gathering of renowned theosophists, numbering more than 150 today. And I'm asked to talk about J. Krishnamoorty, our teacher. And I like to commence my talk with an apology because Krishnamoorty is as elusive as eel, and see the famous, when you approach Krishnamoorty, you feel like the blind man of Hindustan touching the elephant. One man says the elephant is like a rope touching his tail. Another man would touches its legs says it's like a pillar. The man who touches trunk says it's like a something else. And so everybody thinks their own. And so like that, we have to, when you study Krishnamoorty, we form our own impressions and views, and we think we are right. That's the whole trouble. Now, with this note of apology, I'd like to discuss with you the topic, You Are the World. That You Are the World it's a series of 12 lectures given by Krishnamoorty at the prestigious universities in the US. The first lecture during the was delivered at Brandeis University at Boston. You know, Boston is in the east of United States. He delivered it on 1968. And second lecture was on 21st October. And third lecture was on 22nd October 1968. Then he moved to the west of US. There we delivered 9 talks at 3 places. At the University of California, Berkeley, he delivered 4 talks on February 3rd, February 4th, February 5th, and February 6th. Then he went to Stanford. Stanford, you know, is a very prestigious university, the best of the Ivy League, ranked number 2 in the universities. On 11th February, 12th February, 13th February, and 14th February, he gave 4 talks at Stanford. Then he gave the final talk at the University of California at Santa Cruz on 19th to 1969, 19th February 1969. Why I mentioned the dates? When we discuss JK, we don't usually bother about the year in which he delivered the talks or the audience he delivered or circumstances in which he talked. But this is a typical year, 1968-69, because 60s are known as turbulent years of the world. And JK, so you must remember, already an old man. He's 72 years when he delivered these talks. And what is special about 1968-69? 62, China invaded India. 63, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Then the civil rights movement became very popular. And in Alabama, Martin Luther King was killed. Again, very brutal way. In what shall I say? On 68 April, Martin Luther King was killed. He died. And there was an uprising against the US involvement in Vietnam everywhere. Students marched. The students burned their draft cards summoning to the report to the recruiting officer to be enrolled in the defense services. They all burned the draft cards. The parents protested. Don't send the best of our children to Vietnam to have them killed or maimed. That was the slogan. And the unrest was not confined to United States alone only. It was spread over to England, France. In April 1968 or so, the University of Paris went aflame. The students marched. The famous University of Sorbonne. The students marched, and the newspaper screamed, Paris is burning. And everywhere there were protests. In India too, there was rampant unemployment. The students boycotted the convocations. And they said, we don't want paper degrees, we want jobs. That's how the unrest was there. And there was Hare Krishna movement, which is trying to come up in England and New York. And there was the hippie movement was gaining force. And the use of drugs was very widely prevalent. And people were everywhere was the divorce rates in US was all-time high. The casualty rates in Vietnam was very high. And many people were not allowed to enter campuses to attest the students. Many generals were turned off. They were booed and asked to go away. When these things were there, they invited this old man at the age of 72 to speak to them. That's why the time is very, very important and the year is very important. In 1968 April, he addressed the students of in October, addresses to Brandeis University, which is a private university. Then he moved to the West and addressed Berkeley, Stanford, and Santa Cruz. These are the places where the cream of the US is there. So he addresses them. What does he say? He says, you are the world. When you want to change the world, you change yourself. You can't change the world by changing externally. That is his main thrust. And how does he say? What you should do? See, that's the first thing is, we must know about him. You know, he was born in Madanapalli in 1986 and all that. He was discovered in Adyar by said Leadbeater, and he was taken into custody by Annie Besant and along with his younger brother Nitya, and they had the best of everything afterwards. And Annie Besant floated the Order of the Star in the East to prepare the world to meet the world teacher. And she announced in April 27, she declared that J. Krishnamoorty is the world teacher or Jagat Guru. This is the long-awaited Messiah for the world. And he was shown, he is the man who will take you to the kingdom of happiness. He is our new prophet. That's how he was introduced. And people all over the world bestowed lots of properties on him. He reluctantly accepted all that. And Annie Besant was there, whom he called Amma, or mother. She was his mentor, friend, philosopher, and guide. Till his death, he had great affection for her. And what did he do? In April 27, he was declared the world teacher. In August 3rd, 1929, he dissolved that order. He dissolved the Order of the Star of the East, of which he was the head. And he did it where? At home in Holland, in the presence of Dr. Besant and 3,000 members. All of them were shocked. He said, truth is a pathless land. That is his first statement. Then he went on to say, you have the idea, I quote, you have the idea that only certain people hold the key to the kingdom of happiness. No one holds its key. No one has authority to hold the key. The key is your own self, and the development and the purification and the incorruptibility of self alone is the kingdom of eternity. What he stresses? The 3 points: love, development, and purification, incorruptibility. These are the 3 corner words: development, purification, incorruptibility of the self. That you are the self. You have to do all that. Then he gives his mission statement. His life's mission is, my only concern is to set man absolutely, unconditionally free. I repeat that. My only concern is to set men absolutely, unconditionally free. Unconditionally free. This is his life's mission. Until his last breath, he toiled for that countries. He had visited about 37 countries or so. He had visited every country from east to the west, from Australia to Amsterdam, and Amsterdam to Arizona. He had visited Brazil and all that. Every place. Ceylon he has visited a number of times. And everywhere he left his mark. And how to make this man unconditionally free was his life's mission. And how to make him free? That's what he says in these 12 lectures. He gives this, what he call his clue or his ways, how the man can free himself from the bondage. Because Rousseau said, man is born free, but everywhere he is in chains. What are the chains? Because the chains are the conditions imposed on the man from the day one. Man is born free, but he is in chains by the conditions imposed by the society. He is chained by the culture, by education, by family, by politics, and whatnot. One after another, he has to come up to, he has to run this obstacle race. And he says, you will find the kingdom of happiness. And you will never find that with all the conditions. So man must become unconditionally free by removing all these conditions by himself. Because he had categorically said, you are the light to the yourself. You are your own guru. In his long life, spanning up to 91 years, he never accepted that himself as a guru. Nor he claimed anyone to be his allowed anyone to be his follower. He said, no one is my follower. I'm not a guru to anyone. And the man, he points out, has fought 15,000 wars in 5,000 years. What is the use? Wars to happen because of politics, religion, and propaganda, ideology, or the political ambition of the leaders. Yeah, these are the reasons for which the external things happen. They divide. We are divided by the nationalism, by religion, by ideology, whether communist ideology or other ideology or any ideology, Fabian ideology, any ideology. We are divided and divided and divided and divided. We are divided as a Hindu, we are divided as a Muslim, we are divided as a Christian. Always division. And divisions only bring about the new leaders who thrive. The divisions do not solve any of the problems. Man's problem remains the same. So what is the remedy? He said, the physical revolutions cannot solve any of the problems. French Revolution has not solved any problem. Russian Revolution has failed. And all the regime changes from dictatorship to democracy, democracy to oligarchy, or X or Y, or monarchy, all these things are the only changes in the outer surface, or the facade changes, or changing of the masks. But the man continues to have the same sufferings. He suffers for roti, kapda, makan, starvation, because of the lack of shelter, education, health, and all that. He himself has got so many problems. The problems of envy, the jealousy, greed, and possessiveness, accusativeness, competitiveness. There's a rat race. Every child is made to run the race from the day one. Children are put to the, the daycare school at the age of, 28 or 30th month. From there, for next 20 years, ragada. They have their backpack. And they go study, cram, and they write exams, pass examinations, fail examinations, and then they secure the rank. I missed the rank by 0.01, etc., etc. And they start their life with their own frustrations, and they achieve what they call the 7-figure salary, 6-figure salary. That's all. But are they happy? Are they peaceful? No, never. They have all these luxuries. They have all this paraphernalia, all the the creature comforts, but not the inner peace. The inner peace is not possible for them because they are the rat race, competitive, accusativeness, and they waste their time chasing a mirage, and the mirage goes on, and they never achieve. This is the situation according to JK. And how to come out of that? That is possible only with this psychological revolution. What is psychological revolution? It's not the revolution of the physical things. It's not a bloodshed. But the man has to change. The change must happen in his mind. Mind is the most important thing. The mind has to change. He must give up his brutality. He must give up his violence. He must give up his greed. He must give up his acquisitiveness. And he must come out of the rat race of chasing a mirage. Then only he can achieve this, psychological revolution. Why? Because psychological revolution because then only can have real relationship. What is our relationship today? Today you don't have real relationship because you don't have any love for your, even though you claim I love my children. JK points out, if you really love your children, how can there be a war? How can there be so much of violence? Because in any conflict, it's children and women are who suffer most. And to come out of that, you must have real relationship. You have an image. See, this image building has been the, what you call, the curse of mankind from time immemorial. I'm so and so. Everybody wants to have some titles, some paraphernalia behind his name. He is so and so. He is IAS, IPS. He is a member of parliament. He is that. So all these things do not show the real man. The real man is different. The man as he is not seen by anyone. Everyone sees through a colored glass. The colored glass is in the mind. With the colored glass, they speak. And the reactions are not man-to-man relations, but image-to-image relationship. The image-to-image relationship causes havoc in personal lives. The husband has an image of a wife, wife has an image of husband. So there is no relationship at all. The relationship between two images, but not two individuals. The relationship can happen only when they shed all these false procedures, false nomenclatures, false vanity images, false vanities, and all that. Vanity and vanity and vanity. And these vanities are vainglory, causes them the doom. They chase all that and they find nothing. So JK says, you have to see there's no difference between the observer and observer. What is that, observer and observer? What is that? See, when you see a sunset, you enjoy it. You forget yourself. You get completely absorbed in the beauty of it. But when you say how beautiful it is, the connection gets cut. You come there's a difference between observer and observer. Yeah, when the real sense, there's no difference between the observer and the observer. So that's how the relationship should be. The man and woman should see each other, the same thing, the same manner. We see things not as they are, but as we are. When we see things as we are, we don't see the thing. Only when we see things as they are, we will see the things in their naked totality. That is what he wants. Only then you will know where you are standing. With that, we can march. Only then there will be a real progress of the man. All other progresses are material progresses or progresses which do not count at all. Which do not count. And in this sphere, we have to. So the relationship should be meaningful. Meaningful for that, we must clear up all these things, because we are conditioned by every day by propaganda of the religion, by the propaganda of the politicians, by propaganda of the ideologies. All these things make a man conditioned, and he is conditioned every day. Yeah. So what happens is he has to free himself to keep his mind tabula rasa or clean slate every day. Then only he can progress. He can take the walk towards the destiny of truth, because we are conditioned by our yesterdays. See, no man takes a dip in the same river twice. That's a Zen philosophy. See, but we also change. We also change. Biologically also we change. Every day cells gets renewed. Biological, but ought to be changing emotionally and culturally every day, and forget what has happened yesterday. We have the what you call the burden of many yesterdays, and every man has got his own memory. Every man is a history of humankind. That's what JK says, and he has to do all that. When you don't need to study anything, you have to go inside by yourself. But nobody can teach you how to go inside, because meditation should happen. Man cannot cultivate it. He says, by chanting mantras, by chanting reciting all these things, you cannot reach anything. You can say instead of Monster, you can say Coca-Cola. You can say Pepsi-Cola. Even then you can achieve the same result will happen. It will only dull your mind. So you have to slog, you have to go inside by yourself. Because he points out that, I'll quote. And then somebody asks, is it possible for everyone to have the psychological revolution within himself? And he says, it's always the intelligent minority, I quote, it's always the intelligent minority which in turn changes structure of the society and the world. So if all cannot change immediately, at least members of Theosophical Society should change. And that much we must give up all these things, all this greed, violence, and all that. And the violence not only of the physical kind, violence of the words, violence of the actions, violence of the feelings. All these things should go out from your mind. And you have to do that by yourself. The cleaning has to be. And love can happen only when you come out of the images. Love can happen only when you come out of images. That's why when the relationship between man and woman is very, very important. That image, that relationship is spoiled by the image. That's why we call the perfect thing is the fusion of the personalities. Man and woman there may not be a physical union alone. That comes for moments. But the fusion of the mind. That's what you have got the picture of Ardhanariswarar, where the half man and half woman. So they two must become one. Because when you must become your own light. Nobody will show you the light of the path. The path is darkened, unilluminated. And you have to be your own light. That there is no authority. And then only you will become free. And you become the light. How to become the light is the question. That's what he says. That for that you have to toil. That for that you have to work. You have to become, that's what he says, the first lecture itself. Development of your personality. I'll go to the development and purification, incorruptibility. These are the cardinal words to me given by J.K. And I stand by this. Every man has to develop himself. While developing himself, he has to purify. And he must become incorruptible. What is purification? Purification is getting rid of all the negative qualities. And then what happens when the negative qualities go? When the negative qualities go, when you get rid of that, what happens is the virtue blossoms. Virtue cannot be cultivated. Because they say patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. But patience cannot be cultivated. No, humility is a virtue. It cannot be cultivated. It has to come naturally. It has come within. It will come within only when you get rid of your, what you call, internal dross, internal defects, the defects of envy, jealousy, aggressiveness, competitiveness, acquisitiveness, possessiveness. You don't love your wife. You only possess her. You don't love your children. You only possess them. See, because you possess your son or daughter, when they go against your daughter, wishes, you take even extreme steps of killing them. See, that's how we got this unfortunate murders in the country. Because the father says, my son or my daughter did not obey my command. She opted to marry somebody else. She rejected the man I opted for. I have the right to choose for her. You have no right. You have no right to choose anyone for anyone. The choice is made individually. The choice is made individually on their own free will and accord. On their own free will and accord. Nobody, when imposes something, it's not a choice. It's a punishment. Because we must know that pleasure and pain are the two sides of the same coin. Pleasure and pain are in the mind of the person who receives it. And to get rid of all that is what he calls you must develop your personality. By developing the personality, you have to purify it. Purify it by forming satsangs. Then only I think we can purify ourselves. Then that's why all these things are development, purification, incorruptibility. Incorruptibility of self. It's not enough that you purify. You must protect yourself. See, Vasudeva Kudumam is all right, but Vasudeva Kudumam can be safe only when you protect themselves from evil, from negative quality. What is evil? Negative qualities. I can't do this. I can't. It is beyond me. That's beyond me. This is impossible for me. Every man's got a price. The moment you say every man's got a price, you become susceptible to corruption. Susceptible to corruption because we are the world. See, we can't blame others. See, we say the world has gone to dogs because it's Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, there can't be any dharma. How can there be dharma in Kali Yuga? All this is nonsense. All yugas are the same. And it is up to us to make hell out of heaven or heaven out of hell. We have to do it. And that's why the famous American poet Walt Whitman had said, I celebrate myself. That poem, Song of Myself, where he says, I celebrate myself and I am the atom, I am the glory, I am everything. Like that, we have to do that and we have to come out of it. And I don't want to take much of your time, but I'll try to be as brief as possible. See, we have, as our president has said, we got the inner spark within ourselves. That spark, we have to make it shine. That path has to be, that spark has to be rekindled. This is Easter. Easter is the time of resurrection, where the Christ come out of the tomb. We are to come out of our own tombs. We are, our body is our tomb. We are where, even though we are alive, and kicking, even though we say we are thinking, but we are not living. When we live, only when we become free. Others, all other times, we are only hollow men living in the wasteland. The hollow men are we. Whether we are hollow men or real men, we have to prove ourselves, because only then there can be a psychological revolution. Don't think that JK is an armchair philosopher. JK is not an armchair philosopher. He refused to accept the word philosopher, the title philosopher at all. He said, I am not a philosopher. I am not a philosopher. I am only a speaker. He doesn't say, I gave lectures. He gives, I talk. That's all. And he did not even bother to write. He went on speaking like Socrates, Plato, and Buddha to the audience. Some of them recorded that and they gave them as books. And You Are the World is published as a book by the KFI. And they got the audio also. The 12 lectures are in the CD form also. I appeal to my brothers and sisters to hear them and improve them, because the chance is given to us and we have to attempt to that till we stop our breathing. See, you can't say, I'm too old to change. An old dog cannot learn new tricks, nothing doing. Till we breathe our last, we have to attempt to strive, to seek, to find, and never to yield. So said Tennyson. Like that, like Ulysses, we have to try, attempt, and seek to purify ourselves, to develop ourselves, and to keep the spark alive, to speak the spark, to make the spark glow, and be the light to ourselves. Then only there's the meaning of being a theosophist. of this the great organization formed by great persons and nurtured by great persons and toiled to the glory by great persons. We say we are legitimate in saying that we are a member of Theosophical Society, or only otherwise we are only paying subscription and getting the newsletter with which you don't read. So I appeal to my sisters and brothers, as our president has said, to keep the spark glowing and to keep it bright. To be enlightened ourselves, we must follow this path of the JK, saying not believing any external agency, because you are alone in the world. No force nobody on earth will come to help. You have to toil, and the path is your own. There's no right royal path. The path you have to make and progress and steadily with all your efforts till you succeed. So I thank all the organizers for the glorious opportunity. I thank you each and everyone for your patient hearing. I hope I had made some sense to, and I made some useful presentations to all of you. I appeal to my brothers and sisters to go through the lectures and listen to the audio and form your own opinions. Because I feel that these 12 lectures form the what you call the basis or the total sum and substance of JK's teachings. I thank this again, the Indian section, and my president of this session, Madam, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Krishnamoorty, for your.
I hope I had not exceeded my time.
No, there is still 2 minutes left.
Thank you.
Thank you for your very brilliant talk and the kind of urgency that Krishnamoorty had. I think that urgency you brought into this lecture of yours, and we remember these three things: to develop, to purify, and to have the incorruptibility of the self. The main things that he spoke about. The second of this session is Brother Dinakaran. He is going to speak on choiceless awareness. Brother Dinakaran joined the Theosophical Society in 1983 at Adyar Lodge itself. He is a second generation Theosophist. He has been the secretary of the Kerala Theosophical Federation for different periods of time, and the latest of them being from 2016 till date. And for 2 terms, he has also served as the national lecturer of the Indian section. He is also author of a book in Malayalam, which is Theosophical Society and Renaissance of Kerala, published by Kerala Sahitya, regularly contributes articles to the Theosophist. Several times he has lectured at the Easter conference and the Indian section conventions held at Adyar. And also he lectures at the federation meetings and lodge meetings. He's going to talk to us about choiceless awareness, a term which was not new, but a term that was popularized by J. Krishnamoorty. And it consists a central theme in his teachings, perception that bridges the gap between the observer and the observed. I now invite Brother Dinakaran to deliver his talk.
Thank you. Sonalji, could you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Thank you, Sister Sonal Murali, Brother Pradeep Mahapatra, Pradeep Gohilji, and my fellow speaker, Brother Krishnamoorty, and all the members listening this talk all over the world. This is a very unique opportunity for us to be online and address people at different parts of the world, but at the same time, we are missing the opportunity to be at Adyar during this Easter conference, because it is a wonderful experience to be at Adyar during these days. And the theme of this conference is Theosophy and J. Krishnamoorty. And it is very well to remember the few words spoken by Krishnamurti on Adaya. I quote, he said, Adaya is a spiritual center. It is essential for the individual member and for the society that Adaya is a great spiritual center should be maintained, worthy and dignified. The importance of this is so obvious that few can doubt it. Adaya is and always has been a spiritual oasis to which the very traveler looks for comfort and repose. Though it may not be the privilege of each member in the society to go there from the world of wilderness, yet the mere existence of such a center gives hope and encouragement. I have visited many a wonderful land and seen many a famous sight, but there is none to equal the extraordinary, intangible something of our Adaya. There is an atmosphere there that does not exist in many a church and temple. And there is a presence there that we expect to perceive in a sacred shrine. One can become either a god or a pitiful sinner at Adaya. It is a wonderful spot, and it must be maintained as though it were a holy temple. These are the words of J. Krishnamoorty on our international headquarters. On this occasion, I am supposed to talk on the choiceless awareness, a term coined by J. Krishnamoorty. Many speakers today morning and last evening spoke on various aspects of Krishnamoorty, and they enlightened us on the various concepts of his philosophy, if I may call it. The world is passing through a very difficult time. Fragmentation of minds and its results of war, ethnic cleansing, religious and communal conflicts, ideological differences, all these divide man from man. Man-made divisions like casteism, nationalism, regionalism, discrimination based on color, race, etc. are order of the day. Humanity is divided into various compartments of religions and nationality. In this context, the teachings of Theosophy and J. Krishnamoorty are more relevant than ever. Krishnaji never claimed that he is a teacher or guru, but identified himself as a passerby. The generation who were able to listen to him personally were really blessed, because his words have deeper meaning than we find in the books or audio video tapes. Krishnaji raises some pertinent questions. What can one do as a human being in a world that is torn apart? In a world where there is so much despair and sorrow, what value has individual change? How will it affect this whole mass of human existence? Krishnaji says they are wrong questions, because one does not live and act rightly for the sake of somebody else, for the benefit of society. It is we ourselves that have to change, not society. Krishnaji was presenting ancient wisdom or theosophy in a unique way. One may find his teachings more or less the same as the teachings of Lord Buddha, Krishna, and Christ. But the terms he used to express his philosophy is quite new to the modern world. His statements like truth is a pathless land, you are the world, conditioning of the mind, etc. He pointed out the fallacy of clinging to a particular system or method aiming to achieve something. Krishnaji questioned the traditional approach to meditation, religion, religious mind, cultivated virtues, self-knowledge, education, charity, awareness, and love. The core of his teachings are centered. He used the term choiceless awareness to describe it. It is easy for one to understand the verbal meaning of this expression, but not easy to follow it in daily life, because we are conditioned by our own surroundings, cultural, social, and political circumstances which molded us. But it is not an impossible task. The moment one becomes aware of one's own limitation, you are free from these clutches. Krishnaji's mission during his lifetime was to set man absolutely, unconditionally free. which was declared by him in his famous talk, Dissolving the Order of the Star in the East. By choiceless awareness, Krishnaji means to be aware without any choice, desire or memory, which will enable us to see the extraordinary beauty of nature. We should be aware of the world inside us and the world outside us. There is no difference between inner and outer world. On the other hand, when one tries to concentrate, effort and control is necessary, and the controlled will be always conflicting, which will lead to division. According to him, for beauty to come into being, the mind must be choicelessly aware of its own pettiness. There must be an awareness in which comparison has wholly ceased. Choiceless awareness means attention not cultivated. When observer is absent, there is choiceless awareness. This condition is only present when the everlasting struggle of conditioning ends. Krishnaji asks, is it possible to observe, watch, listen? Is it possible to observe, watch, listen if there is already a conclusion? If there is already a formula from which I am watching, a memory which dictates my watching, or a previous experience through which I watch? When there is already a conclusion, when already a judgment, when we have already an opinion about that which we are going to watch, it is based on memory from which thought arises. Jake asks, does a free mind choose? A mind that sees very clearly does not choose. There is only action. So when there is watching with thought, there is no watching at all. You must notice that these are very practical things we have to apply in our daily living. Limitation of thought. Human beings are violent because there is conflict in thinking, saying, and acting. Krishnaji asked, can you think clearly if you have a prejudice, particular belief? That is, if you think as a Hindu, a communist, or a Christian, you can think very clearly only when your mind is not tethered to a belief, as a monkey might be tethered to a stake. Our minds are caught up in the idea of achievement, climbing higher and higher. That is, the idea of choosing between the essential and the non-essential. We try to fill our emptiness with action born of choice, like trying to fill a pot without any bottom. He concludes, thinking cannot solve our problems. Thought has not created nature, the tiger, the wolf, the marvelous trees and flowers, but thought has created division between man and woman. Though biologically they are different, society is what we have made of it, with our greed, with our ambitions, corruption, competition, and all the rest of it. As just now our learned speaker Krishnamoorty said, you are the world. That's the fact we have to accept. Then he stressed the value of self-knowledge. To Krishnamoorty, life is a relationship. He asked, if you can look into the mirror of relationship, exactly you look into the ordinary mirror, then there is no end to self-knowledge. It is like entering a fathomless ocean, just no shore. But most of us want to reach an end and to achieve something. He requests us to look at ourselves without condemning what we see, without comparing ourselves with somebody else, without wishing to be more beautiful or more virtuous. If we can just observe what we are and move with it, then we will find that it is possible to identify for. There is no end to that journey, and that is the mystery and beauty of it. He adds, without self-knowledge, there is no release from confusion. Without self-knowledge, confusion is like a wave eternally catching you up. The moment you understand confusion, you are free of it. Krishnaji's statement, Guru destroys the disciples and disciples destroy the Guru, was a shocking one to many who believed in the Gurudom and guidance on religious life. He was a vehement critic of religious hierarchies. He stressed the need of self-inquiry rather than clinging to someone or any philosophy to show the path. In the modern world, we can see many examples of this mutual destruction, which fully approves J.K.'s statement. The key is with us, but we search for it everywhere or at someone else's hand. Theosophical Society also endorses the view of Krishnaji by giving complete freedom of thought to its members. In the morning, Brother Kantha spoke about it. The text of resolutions passed by the General Council of Theosophical Society, printed on every month on the inner page of the Theosophist, states, no teacher, no writer from H.P. Blavatsky onwards has any authority to impose his or her teachings or opinions on members. Every member has an equal right to follow any school of thought, but has no right to force a choice on any other. The whole theosophical literature is presented before us for consideration and examination. Everyone is free to accept it or reject it. For him, there is no right leader. All leaders are wrong. No, sorry. What you have to do is to clear your own confusion. And confusion is set aside only when you understand yourself. At the beginning of self-knowledge, there comes clarity. Krishnaji cites the example of a painter and says, you know, most of us want to acquire wisdom or truth through another, through some outside agency. No one else can make you an artist. Only you yourself can do it. That is what I want to say. I can give you paint, brushes, and canvas, but you yourself have become an artist, the painter. I cannot make you into one. Theosophy also proclaims the value of self-knowledge rather than ready-made answers to questions. Every theosophist is only a student of wisdom. The three great proofs, it is stated, each man.
Brother Dinakaran, kindly unmute yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
Shall I repeat what I said?
The last sentence only, the last sentence here.
Oh, okay. In the three great proofs, it is stated, each man is his own absolute lawgiver, the dispenser of glory or gloom to himself, the decreer of his life, his reward, his punishment. In her famous essay, Is Theosophy a Religion? States, a religion in the true and only correct sense is a bond uniting men together, not a particular set of dogmas and beliefs. Now, religion per se in its widest meaning is that which binds not only all men, but also all beings and all things in the entire universe into one grand whole. The definition of HPB on religion is not different from Krishnaji's approach to religion. Then the question comes about meditation. The choiceless awareness is the core theme of Krishnaji in every aspect of life, whether it is meditation, freedom, inward revolution, etc. Because a mind caught in the web of thought is never free. It is just looking through a colored glass which distorts the true vision. For Krishnaji, meditation is a way of life. It is a part of daily existence, and the fullness and beauty of life can be understood through meditation. Don't begin very near. According to Krishnaji, meditation itself is timeless. It is not a way of arriving at a timeless state. It is without a beginning and without an ending. He always remains us to have sensitivity. And if you have this extraordinary thing going on in your life, then it is everything. Then you become the teacher, the disciple, the neighbor, the beauty of the cloud. You're all that, and that is love. Being sensitive means sensitive to everything around one, to the plants, the animals, the trees, the skies, the waters of the river, the bird on the wing, and also the moods of the people around one, and to the stranger who passes by. This sensitivity brings about the quality of uncalculated, unselfish response, which is true morality and conduct. If you don't know the meaning and the beauty of meditation, you don't know anything in life. If your meditation is only a personal matter, a thing which you personally enjoy, then it is not meditation. Meditation implies a complete radical change of the mind and heart. This is only possible when there is this extraordinary sense of inward silence. And that alone brings about the religious mind. That mind knows what is sacred. Krishnaji often asks, have you ever paid any attention to the ringing of the temple bells? We rarely pay real attention to anything. And Krishnaji says it is important to find out what it means to pay attention. If our mind has space, then in that space there is silence, and from that silence everything else comes. But then you can listen, you can pay attention without resistance. That is why it is very important to have space in the mind. Then we will know what is meditation. Then God concept. In Mahatma letters, it is said the God of the theologians is simply an imaginary power. Our chief aim is to deliver humanity of this nightmare, to teach man virtue for its own sake, and to walk in life relying on himself instead of leaning on a theological crutch that for countless ages been the direct cause of nearly all human misery. Krishnaji simply stated in one statement, God is confusion, because our concept about God has created all the problems in this world, all the religious wars, all the ethnic cleansing, and what we call war in the name of religion in one group, another group in one religion, one sect is for that, another for another. Then that conflict, all this causes my God and your God, that concept, that great confusion. Then it is not different from the philosophy of theosophy. Krishnamoorty presented it in a very modern language, which is acceptable to every one of us. Then he states, be a lamp unto yourself. Echoing the message of Lord Buddha, Krishnaji says, if you are inwardly a light unto yourself, you will never follow anyone. That is why he was against followers. You follow out of your confusion, and what you follow out of your confusion, and what you follow must also be confused. Therefore, first clear up your own confusion, become a light unto yourself, and then the problem will cease. In theosophical literature also we can find the same message. Light on the path says, for within you is the light of the world, the only light that can be shed upon the path. If you are unable to perceive it within you, it is useless to look for it elsewhere. We cannot achieve or attain it. Krishnaji always points out our desire to achieve a good position or result. But true or light is beyond us as light on the path stage. It is beyond you because when you reach it, you have lost yourself. It is unattainable because it is forever received. You will enter the light, but you will never touch the flame. Our life is a challenge, no doubt. Human beings throughout this history have faced challenges from the groove of habit, which is respond to the terms of acceptance. We always meet the new challenge with our old conditioned mind. Krishnaji says, if each one of us could understand the problem of struggle and conflict, then I think we would be able to live effortlessly, happily, with a smile on our face. But what we do is, we entrust this work to our leaders, our political masters, and all other religious people, and ask them to solve the problem. It is not possible. The other speaker said in the morning, all the wars in this world, assassinations, every year, hundreds and thousands of people are tortured, ethnic cleansing in the name of religion and all that. And no solution, even United Nations could not solve the problem. It was a famous talk of Krishnaji in 1985 when he was invited to UN. He said, later on he said, they thought that I am going to praise their work, but he said organizations cannot bring peace in this world. That was a shocking statement to the organizers of UN, but it is a true fact. Even after the formation of UN, many wars took place, many assassinations, political leaders were assassinated, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, then many people in India, like just or Mrs. Gandhi, and all those people were assassinated, Rajiv Gandhi. Such things happen because there is no total change in the human being. The same person, even after millions and millions of years, same person, man with violence and all that things. Ceaseless strife dissipates our energy. Man who is joyous, really happy, is not caught up in effort. To be without effort does not mean that you are stagnant, dull, stupid. On the contrary, it is only the wise, the extraordinary, intelligent who are really free of effort or struggle. Our envy, greed, ambition, our competitiveness leading to ruthless efficiency. These are obviously the factors which cause us to struggle, whether in this world or in the world to come. So we don't want to study psychological books to know why we struggle, like the boat which was moving with the wind. Can the mind be without struggle? Krishnaji points out, if you love, there is no need for discipline. Love brings its own creative understanding. Therefore, there is no resistance, no conflict. To love with such complete integration is possible only when you feel deeply secure, completely at home, especially when you are young. That is why everywhere he addressed the students, young people, wherever he goes, he used to talk to them on educational reforms, new idea of theosophical idea presented in Krishnaji's own way. So he was very much interested in the young people, because the young people, there is a possibility of change. Then we are struggling to achieve success. If you find the first gift of K to the world is at the feet of the master, as you know, that book says, men who do not know what to gain, wealth and power, but these are at most for one life only, and therefore unreal. Krishnaji in later talks mentioned, as long as you pursue success in any direction, you are bound to be in strife, in conflict. Even when he arrived at the point of success or goal, he is not happy, but try to achieve higher and higher. Only to desire to be more, a mind craving for more, is not a healthy, intelligent mind, because its demand for the more implies a constant struggle in terms of the pattern which society has set for it. We are struggling after something, and we have never paused to inquire if the thing we are after is worth struggling for. It is the fundamental teaching of theosophy, and JK's message to the world meets. When we say we are seeking truth, or we are seeking God, if you are religiously minded, or we are seeking a perfect life and so on, you must already have in our minds an image or idea, which means that we have already known it. That all we have to do is to go after and search it out. When one realizes this trap, he realizes the real truth of it. We cannot start an inquiry with a conclusion, with a judgment. Then one of the major teachings of theosophy, in the morning also, somebody pointed out oneness of life. Theosophy proclaims the oneness of life. Krishnaji, through his talks, reminded the unity of life from a blade of grass to the mighty mountains. When he says, observe nature, the rain, the wind, the chirping of the birds, the warble of the river, he was trying to convince us the oneness of life, which we can realize through a choiceless awareness. H.V. Blavatsky says in The Secret Doctrine, the radical unity of the ultimate essence of each constituent part of compounds in nature, from star to mineral atom, from the highest Dhyani Chohan to the smallest infusoria, in the fullest acceptation of the term, whether applied to the spiritual, intellectual, or physical worlds. This is the one fundamental law in occult science. This is the same idea. We can, when we read commentaries on living by Krishnamoorty or any other book, you can see he's keenly observing nature. He's keenly observing what is going on in the world without any choice or without any preconceived idea. And he presents it in his daily notes, Krishnamoorty's notebook, or any other book you can find this keen observation of nature, which is nothing but occult, following the occult tradition. Theosophy teaches us the evolution of life through mineral, plant, animal, and human kingdom. It also says the growth and splendor of it has no limit. Then, no doubt, Krishnaji was the torch bearer of truth of the 20th century. In the concluding chapter of Key to Theosophy, H.V. Blasky says, through the spread of theosophical literature, through theosophical society, we'll find a numerous and united body of people ready to welcome the new torchbearer of truth. Then she clearly uses the word he. He will find minds of men prepared for his message, language ready for him, in which to clothe the new truth he brings, an organization awaiting his arrival, which will remove the ready-made, the merely mechanical material obstacles and difficulties from his path. You can see that HPB's prophetic words proved perfectly suited to Krishnaji's life and message, but many could not digest that idea. Dr. Besant was the only one who sincerely believed that K is the expected vehicle of the great teacher. She was ready to leave everything and sit at the foot of Krishnaji to listen to him. She even closed the ears and asked members to listen to Krishnaji's words. The modern world needs the message of K more than any time. Human brains are replaced by computers, robots, and man has become a slave to artificial intelligence and its multi-phase entertainment. He's slowly drifting to the position of a second-hand human being. Only a choiceless awareness can serve humanity from the mechanical stereotype living. We should be more close to nature, environment, and ultimately life in every form. We have no other path to go. Thank you, everyone, for giving me this opportunity to speak at the 97th Easter Conference. I thank the organizers, Indian section, President Pradeep Gohilji, Pradeep Mahapatra, the coordinators at Adyar, Shikhar Agnihotri, Mrs. Agnihotri, Sonal Muraliji, and many our friends at Adyar. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Dinakaran. Choiceless awareness, what Krishnaji spoke about, without choosing, the choosing process itself is not there. So completely aware of the present without any effort, any compulsion, any preference, unpremeditated, because he said if it's premeditated, then it is not a choiceless awareness. So thank you very much to both the speakers. With this, we come to the end of the morning session. We meet again at 4 p.m. to listen to Brother N.C. Krishna on the future of humanity. And at 4:40 p.m. there is a talk by Ms. Lakshmi on the topic of love. With this, we close the morning session, and thank you again for being here and participating in the conference.